Hello and welcome to another episode of 17 Seconds with Helen Sinigliero. Her guest today, of course, all the way from England is Kelly Pretty. And here's Helen.
Thank you, Eric. Good morning, and good morning, everybody. I am going to be talking to Kelly Pretty, who, by the way, is very pretty, and she's calling in from the UK today. And she is all about connecting the world through love. But before we get started, you know my thing is to talk about what the law of attraction is about and to see if we can't enlighten the rest of the world about practicing the law of attraction. Now, the law of attraction is about the power of positive thinking. It's expecting good things to happen in your life. And when you do practice this wonderful, wonderful concept, when you take inspired action, action that feels good, you pretty much are on your way to manifesting what you want. The reason why we talk about 17 seconds is if you think of something that you want for 17 seconds without any gunk getting in the way. And gunk, by what I mean by gunk is any of the negative stuff, anger, worry, anxiety, resentment, jealousy, all that negative stuff. That's always at the back of your mind. If you think about something for 17 seconds straight without any of that stuff getting in the way, you are halfway to manifesting what you want. But try it. Try to think about something for 17 seconds without anything else interrupting that thought. It can be quite a challenge, but once you master it, I can tell you it can be an amazing transformation into your life. Because then when you realize that that's happening with little things or small matters, you start working on to bigger matters. You start working on to bigger challenges and issues. And man, can your life change in oh so many ways. That reminds me of a Beatles song, Eric. Which one is that?
Love, love, love.
Well, close. I was
I
thinking
think
of health.
I'm gonna be
I
sad.
love this song.
I
Okay.
think it's today, yeah.
Well, we're not
The
saying.
girl that's driving me mad is going, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, but that was good. Thank you
like
so
that?
much.
Something in the way she moves.
I move. Anyway. Okay. What I'm
Come
going to do.
together. You asked. You should never
did
get me
ask.
to turn.
I'm so
should never
sorry.
get me to turn my mic on.
I know,
You
but
do.
I love when you have your mic turned on.
Do you
Anyway,
really? I'm
yes.
telling you. I'm
Okay, here
telling
we
you.
go. Lisa, help me. Lisa, actually, before I go any steps further, Lisa Monaco and I, we are going to be starting a relationship show, and that's going to be coming in April. And Lisa and I are going to be having conversations about relationships, all kinds of relationships, and what goes on with relationships. Initially, we're going to talk about love relationships, which I'm sure we're going to have Miss Kelly Pretty calling in to share her 2 cents from time to time. But that's going to happen sometime in April. I just wanted to tell you that. Now, I'm going to read Miss Pretty's bio, and then we're going to get started with some questions. I'm going to welcome her in. Kelly Pretty is a soulmate strategist and love mentor, helping people to find love, connected love, in a disconnected world. After a very successful career in recruitment where she worked her way up to a country manager, Kelly decided to quit her job and sell her property so she could set up a business and follow her purpose. She's a huge advocate of the law of attraction, woo, which led her to speak at Europe's largest personal development event called the Best You Expo, and that was within 2 months of setting up her business. She is now working alongside some of the biggest players in Europe, and her personal mentor is Nick Pigeon. Please, if I said that wrong, Kelly, please correct me, who was one of the top female entrepreneurs to be invited to Necker Island by Richard Branson, we all know him, about Virgin Atlantic, in 2017. Now, after a decade of disastrous relationships, she decided that something she needed to change if she was going to find the man of her dreams, and that thing was her. She started meditating and using the law of attraction, and her life transformed, leading her to find her soulmate within 18 months. So patience, everybody. Now she helps others to do the same, and her intention is to help create a world where everyone believes in true love and won't settle for anything less. I love this. Please welcome today Kelly Pretty. Hello, Kelly.
Hey, how are you?
How are you? It's good to hear your voice.
Lovely to hear your voice too.
Now, how and when did you first become aware of our favorite thing in the world, the law of attraction?
Well, I think this story proves that everything happens for a reason, but it was actually my ex-boyfriend who introduced me to it about 3 years ago. And then he dumped me after that. But it's led me to where I am now, and I'm really grateful to have been introduced to The Secret was actually the book he introduced me to about 3 years ago.
Now, you say he dumped you. Tell me how that was a blessing and a lesson in disguise.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I've now met my soulmate, so it's 100%, a good thing. And it really led me to have a period of time where I just reflected and learned to love myself by myself, which I think is really important if you're going to manifest the one or your soulmate, or whatever you want to call it. So I think me being in a state of despair and hurt and anger was actually really good because it led me to look inwards and actually, read The Secret and start meditating. And that was only 2.5 years ago. And within that 2.5 years, I've met my soulmate and I've moved in with him and I moved countries to live with him. So it can move quite quickly once you implement these things.
Well, you mentioned something very important, and since we are talking about relationships, tell me about how important it is to love yourself first.
Oh gosh, I believe that it's the most important thing, in order for you to live a happy life at all. Because if you don't love yourself, you're going to constantly be comparing yourself to others. You're never going to be fully whole. So yeah, I believe it's of the most importance.
So, how did you practice loving yourself first, though? How did you practice that?
I think it's becoming conscious initially of your thoughts. We all have really harsh inner critics. And I think that, it does link into the law of attraction as well, because if you tell yourself every day that you're stupid, then you're going to then attract situations where that is going to be proved to be true, even if it isn't, which it certainly won't be true. But it's just about becoming conscious initially of your thoughts, because as soon as a thought's repeated over and over and over again, that then becomes a belief. And then your beliefs that are conscious then become subconscious. So it's the subconscious ones that, really trip us up, I think, when it comes to manifesting. So I think just starting with your thoughts is the best place, and start being your own cheerleader and best friend.
Now, you said you were a very successful career in recruitment, and you did very well to become a country manager. When did the law of attraction kick in just for you? Just 3 years ago, and all of a sudden you just started, really working at it, and you manifested so many things, especially your soulmate. So before you started becoming a love connector, so to speak. You didn't practice it beforehand, because if you were a very successful person in recruitment, you had to be practicing it all along, really. You just didn't really know it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think I subconsciously practiced it from a work perspective, but from a relationship perspective, I definitely didn't. I used it in a negative way, and I created some really unhealthy, toxic relationships. But from a work perspective, I mean, I think my dad actually, he passed away when I was 22. And before then, I'd always relied on him financially. And when he passed away, and he didn't leave us any money or anything, so we were kind of in a situation where it was like, right, I don't have a choice. I have to make this career work for me. And the first couple of years were so tough. Like in recruitment, it is really, really challenging sometimes, and it was for me, especially as we'd just gone into the recession. It was 2009. So it was really challenging, but with that, it meant that because I didn't give myself any other choices or backup plans, I used the law of attraction subconsciously, and I didn't know I was using it, because that was my only plan and I wasn't going to veer off it.
Well, how did you really? You know what? When you're left with the challenge of I have to make money or else, I guess that really makes you focus. 1, 2, 3. That you really don't have any time to really just sit and decide what you want of maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do that. All of a sudden you have to just jump in one, two, three, and this is the way it's going to go. Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that when you give yourself a backup plan, it's almost like you're giving yourself an option B. You're going to really struggle to be successful at whatever you're doing if you're giving yourself an option B. You have to be 100% committed to option A.
Okay. Now, I love these words, soulmate, strategist, and love mentor. Let's talk about soulmate strategist. What do you mean by that?
So I think it's just about helping people with love strategy. So in life, we have strategies for everything that we do, especially when it comes to work. And a lot of the time we forget about our love lives. And I think it's so important that we're, really thinking about, okay, am I happy with my current partner? If not, why not? How can I make it better? And so I help people that are in relationships that are maybe feeling quite disconnected. And I also help people that are single that really want to manifest their soulmate. And I think there is a strategy behind it because the law of attraction, there's so many steps, there's so many things you need to take into account. So that's why I chose the terminology strategist for that.
Okay, so what would be one strategy? Say if you're single and you're looking to meet somebody, what would be one strategy you'd want to share with us for a single person?
I think, your regular law of attraction things from The Secret are fabulous. So vision boards and visualizations and, you write down all your traits. And in January of 2016, I wrote down 2 A4 pages of all the traits that I wanted in somebody. And I really didn't believe that that person existed. But by the end of the year, I could literally tick off every single trait on that, in my book that my partner that I'd met had. So I think all those things work really, really well. But also coming back to what you were saying earlier, Helen, like it's so important that you love yourself and you love your life exactly how it is now, because if you don't, it's going to be very difficult to manifest anything because you're coming from a place of lack. And I think that that's a key thing, is to have gratitude for the small things in life. That's the main thing, I think.
How do you practice gratitude, Kelly?
I practice it daily. I love it. I wake up in the morning and I say a little prayer to the universe and thank the universe for everything that I have in my life and everyone and all the amazing things that I get to experience. And then I have a gratitude diary where I write down, 5 things every day that I am grateful for. So that's how I practice gratitude.
Now, love mentor, I am assuming that is for people who are already in relationships, that you're going to help them and mentor them how to make their relationships stronger.
Yeah, I think it covers both, again, to be honest with you. I just wanted something a little bit different.
They are different. I love them. I love the titles. I think they're very unusual. I love them.
Thank you so much. Nick actually helped me, the mentor that you mentioned at the beginning. And you did say her name correctly, by the way.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, I really think that Love Mentor covers both areas as well. Whenever we feel disconnected in a relationship, really, I believe that that's a disconnection that we have within ourselves that can be fixed through lots of different methods. So I help people with that.
Okay. How long does it take, say, for you to help a couple rekindle their relationship? Do you put a time element on it, or however long it takes?
Well, I don't help like couples as such. Like I would
Okay.
only help an individual.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, it really depends on how much spiritual work they've already done to date, because it could be that they can get back into alignment with their true selves and their soul very quickly, and they just need a helping hand along the way. Or it could be that they know nothing about the law of attraction, the universe, and they've never meditated in their life before. And if that's the case, it's going to take a bit longer, and that could be anything
Sure.
up to kind of 6 months to a year. It just really depends on the person and what journey they're on.
Now, for people that are skeptical for what you do, what kind of advice do you give them?
Yeah, I mean, I think I used to be the biggest atheist ever. The fact that I'm doing this for a living is absolutely crazy. If you told me this 5 years ago, I would have laughed in your face. And now I teach people about spirituality, and it's just really funny how life works. But I would say keep an open mind. Start small when it comes to the law of attraction. So you want to maybe start with something small, like a car parking space, for instance, and then see when that works, see how it feels for you, and then move on to bigger things after that. And I think just try meditation. You might be surprised. You might have experiences that can't be explained. And that's really what got me into this, because I started meditation and I was like, wow, this feeling is incredible. I can't believe like how connected I feel to something bigger than myself. And that was really what got me started.
Now, with the law of attraction, as you and I well know, it is always working for positive and negative. So to a follow-up to this question is, when people are skeptical, how do you drill into these people? Because you and I as practitioners, we know it's working no matter what you're doing. How do you really get them to do that? I mean, aside from meditating or anything else, how do we get them to really say, pay attention, pay attention? How do you get them to really, sometimes don't you want to just drum it into their heads, like take a hammer and say, pay attention, seriously?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, I think that someone wouldn't really want to work with me anyway, unless they were really interested in spirituality. But for people that are, really not interested at all. So I'll give you an example. My mum just is not interested. She doesn't believe in it. I just don't force my opinions on her, and I let her live her own life, and she's on her own path and her own journey, and I have to accept that. And I think that that's really key, is the acceptance piece. And it's funny, because as soon as you accept, say, someone in your life who has completely different thoughts on something from yourself, as soon as you accept it, you kind of release it, and it makes your relationship a lot better, because everything's connected at the end of the day. I'm not sure if that answers your question. But
yes, it did. Kelly, we'll be right back. We're going to take a break, and hang on. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
All right, so let me ask you a question. Is the only thing missing from your life an amazing person? And that's exactly what you see right away when you go to www.kellypretty.me. That's Kelly's website. Kelly Pretty happens to be Helen Sinigliero's guest today, connecting the world through love. If you're listening, you can check out the website. You can check out Kelly. You can find out what she's about. There are videos. So many great things that she does with regards to, as her statement says, connecting the world through love. So check out our website at www.kellypretty.me. And of course, our very own Helen Sinigliero has a website, which I'm going to go to your website right now, Helen. That's what I'm going to do. And you're a transformational coach, a motivational speaker, a radio host, a mentor, entrepreneur, strategist, leader, and author. All those things.
Wow, I'm exhausted.
Boy, I'll tell you what. So why don't you tell everybody about what it is that you do as far as...
Well, right now, being a motivational speaker, I am also a writer. I am finishing up 2 books, actually, one about relationships and one about the law of attraction, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And also, one of my biggest projects with my co-host and colleague, Lisa Monaco, we are going to be coming up with a relationship show, and we're going to be talking about everything under the sun about relationships. Now, what do women like to talk about mostly? Shoes, shopping, relationships. Let's see, what else? Anything else do we have, Lisa? Oh, she said sex. She whispered sex. She's so adorable. Yes, so we're going to talk about sex, too. We're going to talk about so many things, and that's going to be coming up in April. And our male counterpart for that one is going to be my esteemed and Lisa's esteemed producer, Eric Martin Koppelman. This ought to be good, everybody. So we'll be doing that in April. Thank you, Eric.
Absolutely. And you know what? I am perfectly willing to give relationship advice.
I know.
Because even now, I can hear all the way all the way over to the UK. I can feel the chemistry between Kelly and I.
I'm
I
sorry,
truly,
Kelly.
Kelly, can you feel the chemistry that I feel? I mean, it's just truly amazing. The coming over. It's like I'm right there with you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm driving on the left-hand side of the road, and we're all, doing this together. So I'm just kidding, Kelly. I'm just welcome to the show. We're a little bit. I get a little bit crazy with myself, but that's okay. So 17 seconds is Helen's show, and you can hear that show every single what I was going to say Sunday,
Really?
Wednesday. Blah, blah, sorry, I'm doing three things at once here.
I know you are.
All right,
I
so,
know.
but
Okay.
anyway, so if they want to get a hold of you, Helen,
www.helencernigliaro.com. Thank you.
there you go. And now back to Helen Sinigliero and her guest, Kelly Pretty.
Kelly, I love that name, Kelly Pretty. Kelly
she is pretty. She really is
Yeah,
pretty.
she is very pretty.
Beautiful.
Kelly Pretty. Do you get a lot of busting of your chops, as we would say in the state, of your name of Kelly Pretty?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it was too easy, Kelly.
I do. It's not fun when you're a kid at school. I had all sorts of names. And it's definitely not fun for my brother. I think it's worse for a male, but it makes you stronger.
But here's the thing. You're very pretty, so you're lucky that you have that name. And I'm not kidding, because if you were a homely piece of cheese, then that'd be it'd be a little difficult for you. I know I'm being so
Thank
dopey
you
about
very
that.
much.
My
Thank you.
pleasure. Now, tell us a little bit more about your business and what you've manifested so far setting it up. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So my business is basically I'm a speaker, and I have actually just opened up some one-to-ones as well. So I do one-to-one work and workshops, and also group online workshops as well. So I basically, at the moment, I'm helping people that are looking to manifest their soulmate, and I've got some courses there where they can join and reach out to me online if they're interested. And I also, since I've started, I've been so lucky because I started up in January, and already I've had the most amazing speaking opportunities. So you mentioned the Best You Expo. I spoke there to 120 people. I thought the room would only have 20 in it. It had capacity for 90. And it
You
was
go, girl.
full to the brim.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I was so excited. Yeah. So that was really great. And I had an event last weekend, an alternatives event, and they're an amazing company in the UK who have all the best speakers, including Deepak Chopra. He's coming up soon. Gabby Bernstein. So there's some really big hitters that they get. So I was really excited to be asked to help them with an event last weekend. So yeah, so I've managed to manifest some pretty exciting stuff, to be honest with you, so far.
Well, I don't hear New York City coming in that, young lady. So just so everybody knows, Kelly spoke at my group, Law of Attraction Long Island, and it was standing room only, and she gave an outrageous and fascinating presentation. So when are you coming back to the States? I want to know that too, so I can book you yet again.
Well, I'm definitely planning on coming back. I love New York, and I really would like New York to be, my second home, I think. So my plan is to definitely come back. I have got a couple of states trips booked, but unfortunately not New York just at this moment in time.
Kelly.
One of them is for a wedding, actually.
Okay.
In North Carolina. And then the other one is I'm going to a speaking event in New Mexico, but I might actually put a trip to New York off the back of one of those trips as well. So, it's still open to, open to discussion.
Well, you're going to have to let me know. You're going to have to let me know. Absolutely.
I would be willing to put myself out and be her personal driver if she came to New York. No problem.
Run, Kelly, run. I'm just kidding. Now, if somebody was looking to leave their job to start a business, what tips would you give them? Because you were brave, girl. You just, did it whole hog and you quit and you went for it. So what kind of tips would you give somebody?
I would say 100% go for it, because, do you want to be lying at on your deathbed one day, God forbid, but, one day it's going to happen to all of us. And thinking, oh, what if I tried that? What if I did that? I really wish I tried that. And I always think about that. And that's a key thing. I'd rather try something and fail, even though I don't believe in failure because it's, always a lesson learned.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah, that's just keep that in your mind. Like, what do you want to be saying to yourself when you're 90 years old and looking back at your life? So 100% go for it. But one of the things I think is really important is to make sure you have a buffer of money. I sold my property and used that money to set up my business. And I did that for a reason, because I basically wanted to come from an abundance state rather than a lack state. It's really hard to manifest if you're coming from a state of lack and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I've only got a certain amount of money left. So I would say that that's really key.
So let's talk about a state of abundance as opposed to a state of lack. How do you maintain that belief in abundance, even when you know that it's a little dicey? How do you
Yeah.
maintain that state of abundance? What do you do? What do you personally do?
Well, it's really funny that you asked that question, because that's something that I have been working on over the last couple of weeks. I've spent a lot of money investing in myself. The most important thing for me is to grow myself as a person and as a business person, and also grow my business. And I think I really need to invest heavily in order to do that. So I'm quite comfortable with the fact that I'm spending, my money from my property, because I know that the universe will provide at the right time. And over the last couple of weeks, I kind of found myself having a couple of thoughts of, oh, should I really be spending that amount of money on this? And I stopped myself. And the thing that I do is I've got a really good, actually, I only found this a couple of weeks ago, but it's an abundance meditation by Abraham Hicks. And it's a 15-minute meditation, and it's amazing. And it basically releases any lack thoughts that you've been having at all. And it just really gets you into an abundance mindset. So I do those types of things when I'm feeling a little bit concerned.
I like that word, concern, because when I focus on lack, I just take a deep breath and say, am I okay today? Am I okay today? Am I okay right now? And 10 times out of 10, the answer is yes. And then I just let it go. So since I did bring that up, tell our listeners how important it is to be in the now, as opposed to be in the past, as opposed to being the present, as opposed to being in the future. So tell us all how important it is to be in the now.
Oh, yeah, so important. And that comes to anything. I mean, manifestation, but also for relationships. It's just, if you live in the past, then it's going to be experiences that have led you to where you are now are always going to be brought into your present. And that's not always going to be good experiences as well. So it is really important to live in the present. And an amazing book for that is The Time Is Now by Eckhart Tolle. So I massively recommend that if you haven't read it. And it's really just about living in the present moment, because every single day we've got the opportunity to wake up and create miracles. And I truly believe that. And it's just all about enjoying the moment and living right in the present moment and enjoying every second of it.
Well, what do you say to people when they just won't let go of the baggage and they say something akin to that, I'm not very good at relationships? And when somebody says something like that, what do you say to them? Because I know what I think, but what do you say to them when they keep saying, you know what, I'm just not very good at relationships? Tell me what you would say to that.
Well, I'd ask if they really want their life to change. Because if you want your life to change, then you can't keep being stuck in the same story. That's down to you. If you want to stay in that story, and there are people in the world, and I've been like that at times as well, where I actually quite enjoy being a victim. And some people, people that I'm really close to, some of them literally have lived their whole lives being victims, and they enjoy it. And that, I'm not judging that at all. So if that's the way they want to live their lives, that's totally fine. But if they don't, and they're looking for an out and they want help, then the first thing that they have to do is change their thoughts and change their limiting beliefs, and step out of their story and create a new one.
If you were able to manifest one thing in the world that would improve the current state of disconnect, what would it be and why?
I would 100% want everybody to meditate and realize the power that they have within themselves. I think that that could solve a lot of current problems that there are in the world.
Okay. What do you say to somebody who is just new to meditating? Because I've only been meditating for about a year now, and it really did take quite a bit of practice for me. And initially, sitting there in a quiet place, and my mind would be racing a mile a minute. So, how long did it take you to really get into a truly meditative state?
Well, I started with apps. So
Mm-hmm.
where there was like guided meditations. So for instance, Calm app, that's a really good one, CALM. And what they do is they just do like a guided meditation where they
Mm-hmm.
keep your mind off your thoughts. And if you have a thought, it's not a bad thing. Sometimes it's actually highlighting something that's quite important for you to look at. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but thoughts are like clouds and they'll pass. So it's just about not beating yourself up for having the thought and
Mm-hmm.
just being with it and letting it be there. And as soon as you're, not trying to push it away and you're just at ease with the thought being there, it will release itself.
Okay. Uh, if people followed all the steps to manifest something and it isn't working, what do you think could be happening and what could they change?
I think it can be any number of things, to be honest with you. They've
Mm-hmm.
clearly got some form of a block, and we've already talked briefly about money blocks.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, for instance, with money, we can talk about money for a second if that's okay, Helen.
Sure.
Like, a lot of the times, we actually have beliefs from when we were children. And the beliefs that we have around money are often from our parents. And I think that a really good way to unblock anything that's there that's stopping you from manifesting money is really think back to what your childhood was like. What kind of things did your parents say about money? How did they hold money? Did they hold it in high regard? Was it
Mm-hmm.
really important to them? Did they get jealous of other people that had more money than them?
Mm-hmm.
And really start looking at, your beliefs around money, and some of them will be subconscious, sorry, but the way to bring them to the surface
Mm-hmm.
is to think about your childhood and experiences that you've had around money. So I think that's a really good way to get rid of money blocks. But a lot of the time as well, it can be just down to your faith, like believing that it's going to happen, because if you don't believe it, then it just won't happen, unfortunately.
Okay. Now let's take that to when they're having difficulty manifesting love or a relationship. How do you get them to move that aside from the faith? Because I don't know about you. Have you found people that just start out with the law of attraction? They tend to be impatient and say, this isn't working. And,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and you say, how long have you been practicing? A week? So, what do you say about that? With the time element perhaps involved with difficulty manifesting something.
Well, I think it really depends on who the person is, because sometimes you can manifest things really quickly. It's all down to what you think is going to take a long time to manifest. Does that make sense?
Uh, yes. I have a question for you because you said you found your soulmate within 18 months. During those 18 months, and you wrote out what you want, which is a very good tool for manifestors, you wrote out everything. During those 18 months, did you ever have any doubts? Did you ever have
Oh,
any?
yeah.
Okay, so how did you overcome the doubt? Because 18 months for somebody to find love, I would think after about 3 months, they'd throw down their pen and say, this doesn't work. So, how did you keep that faith over 18 months? How did you do that?
So I think because I was manifesting other things, I knew it worked. I had that much faith and belief that it worked, that I knew it was going to come at the perfect time. So when I can tell you a story actually. About 6 months after I had set all my intentions, I'd written down all the traits I wanted in somebody, I had a bit of a blip, and I was like, oh, for goodness sake. I remember I sat down with my coach at the time, and I said to him, I'm really struggling. I'm getting so frustrated. When is this person coming? And he was like, okay, Kelly, I really recommend you having a mantra. And that was a really big shift for me, actually. He made me sit. I'll never forget the day he made me sit in Costa Coffee and say, I am in a loving, committed relationship and I'm excited about what the future holds 20 times in a row, while everyone around me drinking coffee thought I was absolutely crazy. But I basically just, I committed to that mantra and I said it every day when I walked to work in my head. So if I was to give any advice, it's have a mantra, because it really helps you stay committed to your vision.
And you said that every day for 18 months.
No. So I was single for like probably about 6 months. I just wanted to be by myself.
Okay.
And then I manifested him in 11 months. So
11 months. Okay.
yeah, so it wasn't as long as that. So in the January of 2016, I released all my intentions. I did my vision board, all the things that I wanted to do, and then I met him in November. So it was a little less than a year. But I did get impatient at times, and it's just about being so happy with what and who you are right now. And that's the most important thing, is like you said, Helen, just be present and love your life the way it is now.
Now, with that list that you wrote, do you have 100% of what you desired? Or is it 90, 60, 50? How much percentage of it is what you wrote down on the list? I find this very interesting.
Well, the actual list itself, he has every trait that I'd asked for.
Wow.
But one of the things yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? One of the things that I will say, though, is I actually revisited what I thought was really important for me. And for the last kind of 10 years, I always thought that I wanted somebody that had no baggage. Even though that's a horrible word to use, and I'm sorry for using it, but basically, I wanted somebody who hadn't been married before, hadn't had children, et cetera, et cetera. So when I started getting into meditation and becoming a bit more spiritual, I really started to dig a bit deeper on the reasons why my past relationships didn't work. And every time it was because that person was a commitment phobe and they didn't want commitment. So I started thinking, well, where's the pattern here? I'm always going after commitment phobes. So why have I got this thing in my head that I want somebody with no baggage? Because that's clearly amounted to me being with people that don't actually want commitment. So I started to really look a bit deeper as to the reasons why I had those beliefs. And then as soon as I looked at those beliefs, I was able to shift them and go, actually, it might be quite nice to be with somebody who's been through it before, had the experience of being married, had the experience of having children, and it means they're not scared of committing to people. And also they'll have learned a lot about themselves. And as soon as I shifted my perception on that, that's when the universe gave me my soulmate, basically, because he has had a child before. She's 10 this year, and he's been married before as well. And it's just, I find it absolutely wonderful that, she's in my life, and I love it. And I couldn't, it's really funny because the universe always knows best. And I think it's just about remembering that.
Okay. I like that. Okay, let's see. I lost my train of thought. Oh my gosh. Okay. If you could leave one legacy in the world, what would it be?
I would want everybody to be if they seek this. Obviously, there are a lot of people in the world that are happy being single, and I completely understand that perspective as well. But if they seek a committed and loving relationship, then I would want everyone to have learned that it is entirely possible and the power is within their own hands.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. Question also, do you think is there a selfish aspect to the law of attraction? It's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. I think, can I tell you a little story?
Absolutely. Yes, we have plenty of time.
So
yes.
It's really funny that you say that, because when I got into the law of attraction, it was definitely from a selfish perspective, and I wanted to improve my life, and I wanted to create and manifest all these things. And I then when I put down that I wanted to be like a country manager, basically. And I waited a year, and I thought I wasn't going to get promoted because I was actually about £70,000, which is, I think, over $100,000 off my target for the year. And this was just last Christmas. And I remember I had this massive stress. I was about to go to Bali the next day, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to hit my target. I'm definitely not getting promoted. And my boss at the time had told me, Kelly, if you don't hit this financial target, you will not get your promotion. So because I believed in the law of attraction, I kept saying, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's coming to me. It's there. It's there. And then one day I just went, oh my gosh, I'm nearly 100,000 pounds off my target. I'm not going to get promoted. And I started crying, and I was just in a really bad state. And then I was like, right, okay, come on, let's get a grip. You're going to be fine. And as soon as I shifted that, I had a phone call on my phone, and I answered, and it was my boss. And he says, I know you're about to go on your holiday tomorrow. I've got amazing news, but you're actually going to get promoted. And I was like, wow, this stuff really works, you know? And I was so excited. And I've never in my life gone from being like crying tears of hurt and upset and frustration to crying tears of joy. I was just absolutely delighted because I really wanted, I had this target in my head of getting to a specific level at a specific age, and I managed to do it. So I was really happy, and I was so delighted with everything in my life. And I went away to Bali for 5 weeks by myself because I wanted to go and do some soul searching. And once I hit that target, I really had a bit of a reality check, and I was like, what is this all for? Like, I've managed to manifest everything I want in my life, but actually I don't feel complete and I don't feel whole. And that was really when I realized that the penny dropped, and I was like, it's because I'm living selfishly. I'm living for myself, and all I'm doing is manifesting material things. And that was the day that I decided, right, I'm going to help people, because that's the thing that is lacking in my life. And that's when I decided, I started on the journey of selling my property and wanting to help people, basically.
I have a question from a friend of ours that actually lives in the UK, Kelly. Heather Claire Lander wants to know where in the UK is Kelly. So where are you, Miss Kelly?
Hi, Heather. I'm in a place called Wokingham, which is near Reading, which I'm sure you'll know Reading. You probably won't know Wokingham. I'm about an hour from London, basically.
Okay. Heather, I hope that helps you. I think you're outside of London, Heather, if I remember correctly, but don't quote me on that. I'm not really sure. Heather listens into Cop and Crew in the morning, and she's listening into 17 Seconds today. So thank you, Heather. I really appreciate it. Let's see. Now, what difficult moment has shaped your life the most at this point now, Kelly? And how did the law of attraction help you get over it?
I think we've kind of touched on this, actually, but
Yeah.
I do definitely think my dad passing away when I was that age really was the most difficult but defining moment of my life so far. It was so difficult that I put it into a box for 5 years, and I just didn't think about it, and I couldn't face it. And when I started to I went to a therapist, and I started to really look at why I was unwilling to face that part of my life. I started to realize that actually, although you can never look at your parents passing away as a good thing, there was a lot of good things that came out of it for me. And one of them was as I mentioned to you, I didn't have a choice about my career. I had to just work and work and work and work and work and make it work. So I was really successful at a really young age for that reason. And it kind of dropped. The penny dropped one day when I was like, that's why this has happened. That's why this is my path, because it's allowed me to, not rely on anybody else and be solely independent at a very young age, and just go for it with my career, that I was, really successful compared to a lot of my friends and at that age. And I'm really grateful for that experience in a way, even though I miss my dad every single day. I think that that's really defined who I am now.
Now, I find that very interesting that that you said that. I thought you were going to go a little bit in a different direction, because when you presented at Law of Attraction Long Island, you told a different story about when you went through your breakup, and I thought that might have been a defining moment in your life regarding, I guess, the career that you're at now. But certainly the death of a parent will certainly do it to you. I can certainly be in the same boat with you because both my parents have passed. So I do understand how that is a defining moment. So, yeah, I get how that can be. Now, the next thing is what do you plan to manifest next? Because you seem to be on quite a roll. You're all over England. You've been in New York. As you said, you were working with one of the top female entrepreneurs in Europe, and that's very exciting too. What's coming up next for you? What's manifesting next?
Well, I am so grateful for where I'm at the moment. So I think I just want to, make sure I enjoy every second of it. And I really want to release a book. So you guys have got Hay House, haven't you, in the
Yes.
States? Yeah, I love them. I love all their books, and I'm really into Hay House Publishing Company. So I would love to manifest a book deal with them. And I would just love to build my business so that eventually, within the next 3 years, I would love to be helping millions of people to connect inwards and start to kind of manifest their dream relationship. So that's what I would love to manifest, Helen.
Is that all? Because I think that's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
I think you're going to do it. I have no doubt you're going to do it.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. When I met you, there was just the nicest energy about you, and we had just met literally 5 minutes before the presentation began, and it was just like I like this person because
Yeah,
you do have that
likewise.
you
Your
have that
energy's
nice energy
awesome.
going for you. What are the 3 law of attraction books that you would recommend?
Definitely The Secret, but I'm guessing most of your audience have already listened, not listened, but like watched the film or read it. But 100% The Secret, that was life changing.
Yeah.
Abraham Hicks, Ask and It Is Given. I love that book. I cried when I first read the opening chapter in that book because I felt like it was really like the universe was literally talking to me. It was so profound. And I love Gabrielle Bernstein, so I would really recommend The Universe Has Your Back. Not quite so law of attraction based. It's more the universe and, making, doing the things you want to do in life because you're always being guided and you're always being loved and you're always being looked after. So it's kind of moving from fear to love. And it's a really powerful message. And I read her book, actually. I read that book, The Universe Has Your Back, in Vegas, of all places.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, on my mum's, you would call it a bachelorette party, but my mum got married and I read that book. It actually got handed to me on the bachelorette party and I was like, right, I need to read this. And when I read it, that was actually the day that I decided I was going to leave my job. So, yeah, I massively recommend those 3.
Don't you find that when you make your mind up to do something, that one of my favorite things in the world, synchronicity, starts to happen? And tell me about how synchronicity has happened for you, just as that book was handed to you when you're deciding that day to leave your former career to start this one. So can you tell me anything about synchronicity with you?
Oh, yeah. I've got a really good one, actually.
Great.
So synchronicity is incredible. It's always the universe telling you that you're on the right path. When I met my boyfriend, he lived in England and I lived in Scotland. And we actually met on Tinder. And
Hello.
yeah, I know. So he was in Edinburgh, where I lived for work for one day. And he actually didn't realize that he hadn't set his location to be wherever his phone is. He thought it was set from home in England. So he was about to take off from Edinburgh Airport and he was swiping and we matched. And then his plane took off and he arrived in Heathrow in London. And then when he turned his phone on, I was 500 miles away. And he wrote a message to me saying, "Oh, my goodness, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that I hadn't set my location to my home. I live ages away in a different country, but hopefully I get to take you for dinner one day." And I was thinking, I'll never see that guy again. And literally 2 days later, he messaged me and he said, "I know this is really bizarre, but I'm actually having to go to Glasgow in Scotland
Wow.
for work on Thursday. And I was based in Edinburgh, and Edinburgh and Glasgow are about an hour apart, which doesn't sound like a lot if you are from New York, but in Scotland, that's quite a big distance. So I was like, no way, I need to go to Glasgow on Thursday as well. And I never worked in Glasgow really, so it was really synchronous, synchronicity. And then for some reason, I don't know why, I said, oh, I'm actually going to be seeing a specific client. And I named the client, and he said, so am I. So we lived in different countries, but we were in the same building, seeing the same client on the same day in the same city. It was crazy. And then one of the things that was really important to me was that the person I was with was conscious and believed in the universe and the law of attraction, etc. And the first thing that came out of his mouth when we met, he took me for a drink and he said, well, the universe wanted me to be here, so here I am. And my jaw dropped to the ground. I literally couldn't believe it.
So he was a law of attraction practitioner as well?
Well, this is a funny thing, Helen. I thought he was, because that was the first thing he said that came out of his mouth. And then for the next month, he constantly talked about synchronicity, flow, alignment, and he used all these words. And I talked normally and had normal conversations with him about the law of attraction, or so I thought I was having normal conversations. And literally a month after, I said to him, oh, the law of attraction. And he was like, the what? And I'd fallen in love with him by this point. And he was like, oh, what's the law of attraction? I was like, are you kidding? You know what the law of attraction is? We've been talking about it loads. And he's like, I have no idea what it is. So the universe literally conspired for me to believe that he knew what the law of attraction was when he didn't have a clue, which I think is insane. But it was really important for me to be with someone who, you know, believed in it and knew about it. So I wouldn't have been interested in him, to be honest, if he wasn't, if he was cut off to that. So yeah, it's fascinating.
That is a major synchronicity story. Gee, you know what? I might, in my workshops, I'm going to say I give this to Kelly Pretty, but this is her story because that is fascinating. Wow. Now, after all this, we've talked about The Secret, we've talked about Abraham Hicks, Deepak Chopra, Gabby Bernstein. Who is your very biggest influence to get you on this journey? The one that just turned your head, said, wow, I need to do this, I have to do this, I have found my path. Which was your biggest influence? The one. The only.
Yeah, well, I think if you're talking from a professional sense, so someone in the industry, I do think it would be Gabby Bernstein, because I've been toying with the idea of going into this industry, and someone who's in it already said to me, great idea, you need to check out Gabby Bernstein. And I didn't know who she was at that point. And I watched her TED Talks, and I literally was like, wow, this is amazing. And I really think that she was quite instrumental in me making the decision when I read The Universe Has Your Back. I just was like, right, well, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to go for it. So yeah, that was pretty big for me. And I think from a personal perspective now, you know, my boyfriend is so supportive. And any days that I think I can't do this, or I have doubt, or I think I'm not good enough, he's there 100% with words of encouragement. So yeah, he's amazing.
I find that just amazing that you can find somebody. Usually I feel like people are a little standoffish when you talk about the law of attraction. I'll bring it up because, of course, it's my favorite subject. But I find if people are standoffish, I believe that it's a bit of a defense mechanism, that people don't really want to believe that their life can be joyous and positive and not so much of a struggle. Have you found that when people are skeptical, I am convinced it's a defense mechanism. What do you think? Kelly?
I think that we're all on a journey, and I think that some people will not want to accept the law of attraction as being real in this lifetime. I think that there's a massive shift happening in the world where a lot more people are becoming conscious, and it will get to the point at some stage where every person believes in the law of attraction and every person meditates and is spiritual, and we're all connected and intertwined, etc. And we're effectively all one. And I do think that that day is coming. But right now, I think that there are definitely people that, are non-believers and will continue to be that way. And I think it's just about everyone else who does believe in the law of attraction, just accepting and loving them for that.
How important do you think it is to teach kids about law of attraction? Because I only wish that I had known about this a zillion years ago. So how important do you think that is?
It's really funny that you've asked me that question, Helen. You've asked me a lot of questions today that have really got me thinking, actually, which is amazing.
Hey.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're kind of going through this right now because Simon, my boyfriend's daughter, is 10, and he's kind of gently bedding her into it. Obviously, I've only been teaching this for a very short amount of time, but she's obviously quite interested in what it is that I'm teaching. So yeah, I would love for her to know exactly what the law of attraction is and live her life that way. And we're really lucky that she's already quite a positive kid, and she seems to live her life that way. She believes in positive thinking and all those things. I think it's really key. I think that we can make a huge difference in children's lives by teaching them the law of attraction. And even in the UK, they've started teaching growth mindset, which I think is fabulous, and also meditation. So we're really moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I think we are too. Growth mindset. Can you explain that a little bit? I've never heard of that. So can you explain that a little bit to me, please?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely no expert on it. I just know because my boyfriend says that his daughter gets taught it at school, but it's really just when they come up with difficulties or things that they can't do, it's about learning the lesson and having a growth mindset and being like, okay, well, you know what? It's okay that I don't know how to do that because I can learn. And just that kind of growth mindset rather than a closed mindset, I guess. A kind of, well, this is all that I know, so therefore I am this. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely it does. Final question, Kelly. Where can we find you? What's coming up next for you? First of all, what's coming up next? And then tell us where we can find you, please.
So, yeah, I mean, I've got some workshops coming up. I've got one in London in the first week of May, and I know that's not ideal for you lot in New York, but I've also got one coming up in Scotland as well. But I am very determined to start slotting some New York workshops in as well. So that will be coming up soon. Stay tuned. And you can find me, my website is www.kellypretty.me. I do also online courses. So I'm going to do a group mentorship online course, and I also do one-to-one mentorships as well, which we do over like Skype, and it's not face-to-face. So I do help people online as well. You don't need to be in the same country, for instance. And also you can get free content on my Facebook group and my Instagram, and my Instagram name is @Kelly_pretty. So you can check me out there and see if you like what I have to say.
Well, Kelly, thank you very, very much for this interview. It was a lot of fun, and you had so much to share. And I expect that when Lisa and I start our relationship show, we're going to be calling you, say, "Wake up, Kelly, we have a question." Just kidding, but we will be calling you to talk to you, since you are all about love and a soulmate strategist and a love mentor. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very, very much. I look forward to seeing you in New York again. And we will see you soon. You take care, and I'll talk to you soon, Kelly.
Thanks so much.
You take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This is Helen Cernigliero, and you can find me at www.helencernigliero.com, at Cop and Crew as well. That is Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 at www.wliny.com. And as I said, in April, Lisa Monaco and I were having a relationship party, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll see you soon.